The Holy Bible, Old Testament, Genesis, chapter 1:1 In the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. 1:2 And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. 1:3 And God said, Let there be light, and there was light. 1:4 And God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. 1:5 And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and there was evening and there was morning, one day. 1:6 And God said, Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. 1:7 And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. 1:8 And God called the firmament heaven, and there was evening and there was morning, a second day. 1:9 And God said, Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together to one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. 1:10 And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. 1:11 And God said, Let the earth put forth grass, herbs yielding seed, and fruit, trees bearing fruit after their kind, with its seed in itself, upon the earth. And it was so. 1:12 And the earth brought forth grass, herbs yielding seed after their kind, and trees bearing fruit, with its seed in itself, after their kind. And God saw that it was good. 1:13 And there was evening and there was morning, the third day. 1:14 And God said, Let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years. 1:15 And let them be for lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth, and it was so. 1:16 And God made the two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made also the stars. 1:17 And God set them in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth. 1:18 And to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. 1:19 And there was evening and there was morning, a fourth day. 1:20 And God said, Let the waters swarm with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. 1:21 And God created the great sea monsters, and every living creature that moves, with which the waters swarmed, after their kind, and every winged bird after its kind. And God saw that it was good. 1:22 And God blessed them, saying, Be fruitful, and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let birds multiply upon the earth. 1:23 And there was evening and there was morning, a fifth day. 1:24 And God said, Let the earth bring forth living creatures after their kind, cattle, and creeping things, and beasts of the earth after their kind. And it was so. 1:25 And God made the beasts of the earth after their kind, and the cattle after their kind, and everything that creeps upon the ground after its kind. And God saw that it was good. 1:26 And God said, Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heaven, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. 1:27 And God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him, male and female he created them. 1:28 And God blessed them, and God said to them, Be fruitful, and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heaven, and over every living thing that moves upon the earth. 1:29 And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb yielding seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree, in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for food. 1:30 And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the heaven, and to everything that creeps upon the earth, in which there is life, I have given every green herb for food. And it was so. 1:31 And God saw everything that he had made, and, behold, it was very good. And there was evening and there was morning, The sixth day. Chapter 2:1 And the heaven and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. 2:2 And on the seventh day God finished his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done. 2:3 And God blessed the seventh day, and hallowed it, because in it he had ceased from all the work of creating which God had done. 2:4 These are the generations of the heaven and of the earth when they were created, in the day that Yahweh God made earth and heaven. 2:5 And no plant of the field was yet in the earth, and no herb of the field had yet sprung up, for Yahweh God had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground. 2:6 But there went up a mist from the earth, and watered the whole face of the ground. 2:7 And Yahweh God formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. 2:8 And Yahweh God planted a garden eastward, in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. 2:9 And out of the ground Yahweh God made to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight, and good for food, the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. 2:10 And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from there it was parted, and became four heads. 2:11 The name of the first is Pishon, that is the one which compasses the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. 2:12 And the gold of that land is good, there is bdellium and the onyx stone. 2:13 And the name of the second river is Gihon, the same is it that compasses the whole land of Cush. 2:14 And the name of the third river is Hiddekel, that is the one which goes in front of Assyria, and the fourth river is the Euphrates. 2:15 And Yahweh God took the man, and put him into the garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. 2:16 And Yahweh God commanded the man, saying, Of every tree of the garden you may freely eat. 2:17 But of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you shall not eat of it, for in the day that you eat of it you shall surely die. 2:18 And Yahweh God said, It is not good that the man should be alone, I will make him a helper suitable to him. 2:19 And out of the ground Yahweh God formed every beast of the field, and every bird of the heaven, and brought them to the man to see what he would call them, and whatsoever the man called every living creature, that was the name of it. 2:20 And the man gave names to all cattle, and to the birds of the heaven, and to every beast of the field. But for man there was not found a helper suited to him. 2:21 And Yahweh God caused a deep sleep to fall upon the man, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs, and closed up the flesh in the place of it. 2:22 And the rib, which Yahweh God had taken from the man, he made into a woman, and brought her to the man. 2:23 And the man said, This is now bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. 2:24 Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave to his woman, and they shall be one flesh. 2:25 And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. Chapter 3:1 Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahweh God had made. And he said to the woman, Has God really said, You shall not eat of any tree of the garden? 3:2 And the woman said to the serpent, Of the fruit of the trees of the garden we may eat. 3:3 But of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, You shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. 3:4 And the serpent said to the woman, You shall not surely die. 3:5 For God knows that in the day you eat of it, then your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as God, knowing good and evil. 3:6 And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit of it, and did eat. And she gave some also to her husband along with her, and he did eat. 3:7 And the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together, and made themselves aprons. 3:8 And they heard the voice of Yahweh God walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and the man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahweh God among the trees of the garden. 3:9 And Yahweh God called to the man, and said to him, Where are you? 3:10 And he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself. 3:11 And he said, Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten of the tree of which I commanded you that you should not eat. 3:12 And the man said, The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and then I ate. 3:13 And Yahweh God said to the woman, What is this you have done? And the woman said, The serpent beguiled me, and then I ate. 3:14 And Yahweh God said to the serpent, Because you have done this, cursed are you above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon your belly shall you go, and dust shall you eat all the days of your life. 3:15 And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. 3:16 To the woman he said, I will greatly multiply your pain in childbearing. In pain you shall bring forth children, and your desire shall be your husband, and he shall rule over you. 3:17 And to Adam he said, Because you have listened to the voice of your wife, and have eaten of the tree, about which I commanded you, saying, You shall not eat of it, cursed is the land for your sake, in toil shall you eat from it all the days of your life. 3:18 Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to you, and you shall eat the herb of the field. 3:19 By the sweat of your face shall you eat bread, till you return to the ground, since out of it you were taken. For dust you are, and to dust you shall return. 3:20 And the man called his wife's name Eve, because she was the mother of all living. 3:21 And Yahweh God made for Adam and for his wife coats of skins, and clothed them. 3:22 And Yahweh God said, Behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil, and now, lest he put forth his hand, and take also of the tree of life, and eat, and live forever. 3:23 Therefore Yahweh God sent him forth from the Garden of Eden, to till the ground from where he was taken. 3:24 So he drove the man out, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden the cherubim, and the flame of a sword which turned every direction, to guard the way of the tree of life. 4:1 And the man knew Eve his wife, and she conceived, and bore Cain, and said, I have gotten a man with the help of Yahweh. 4:2 And again she bore his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. 4:3 And in process of time it came to pass, that Cain brought an offering to Yahweh of the fruit of the ground. 4:4 And Abel, he also brought one of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And Yahweh had respect toward Abel and to his offering. 4:5 But toward Cain and to his offering he did not have respect. And Cain was very angry, and his countenance fell. 4:6 And Yahweh said to Cain, Why are you angry? And why is your countenance fallen? 4:7 If you do well, shall it not be lifted up? And if you do not do well, sin crouches at the door and its desire is you, but you must rule over it. 2. 4:8 And Cain told Abel his brother. And it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel his brother, and slew him. 4:9 And Yahweh said to Cain, Where is Abel your brother? And he said, I know not, am I my brother's keeper? 4:10 And he said, What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries to me from the ground. 4:11 And now cursed are you from the ground, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. 4:12 When you till the ground, it shall not any more yield to you its strength, a fugitive and a wanderer shall you be in the earth. 4:13 And Cain said to Yahweh, My punishment is greater than I can bear. 4:14 Behold, you have driven me out this day from the face of the ground, and from your face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a wanderer in the earth, and it will come to pass, that whosoever finds me will slay me. 4:15 And Yahweh said to him, Therefore whosoever slays Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And Yahweh appointed a sign for Cain, lest anyone finding him should attack him. 4:16 And Cain went out from the presence of Yahweh, and dwelt in the land of Nod, on the east of Eden. 4:17 And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived, and bore Enoch, and he built a city, and called the name of the city, after the name of his son, Enoch. 4:18 And to Enoch was born Irad, and Irad begat Meujael, and Meujael begat Methushael, And Methusael begat Lamech. 4:19 And Lamech took to himself 2 wives, the name of the one was Ada, and the name of the other Zillah. 4:20 And Ada bore Jubal, he was the father of such as dwell in tents and have cattle. 4:21 And his brother's name was Jubal, he was the father of all such as handle the harp and pipe. 4:22 And Zillah, she also bore Tubal-Cain, the forger of every cutting instrument of brass and iron, and the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. 4:23 And Lamech said to his wives Ada and Zillah, hear my voice, you wives of Lamech, hearken to my speech, for I have slain a man for wounding me, and a young man for bruising me. 4:24 If Cain shall be avenged 7-fold, truly Lamech 77-fold. 4:25 And Adam knew his wife again, and she bore a son, and called his name Seth. For, said she, God has appointed me another seed instead of Abel, for Cain slew him. 4:26 And to Seth, to him also there was born a son, and he called his name Enosh. Then began men to call upon the name of Yahweh. Chapter 5:1 This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him. 5:2 Male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam, in the day when they were created. 5:3 And Adam lived 130 years, and begat a son in his own likeness, after his image, and called his name Seth. 5:4 And the days of Adam after he begat Seth were 800 years, and he begat sons and daughters. 5:5 And all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. 5:6 And Seth lived 105 years, and begat Enosh. 5:7 And Seth lived after he begat Enosh 807 years, and begat sons and daughters. 5:8 And all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died. 5:9 And Enosh lived 90 years, and begat Kenan. 5:10 And Enosh lived after he begat Kenan 815 years, and begat sons and daughters. 5:11 And all the days of Enosh were 905 years, and he died. 5:12 And Kenan lived 70 years, and begat Mahalalel. 5:13 And Kenan lived after he begat Mahalalel 840 years, and begat sons and daughters. 5:14 And all the days of Kenan were 910 years, and he died. 5:15 And Mahalalel lived 65 years, and begat Jared. 5:16 And Mahalalel lived after he begat Jared 830 years, and begat sons and daughters. 5:17 And all the days of Mahalalel were 895 years, and he died. 5:18 And Jared lived 162 years, and begat Enoch. 5:19 And Jared lived after he begat Enoch 800 years, and begat sons and daughters. 5:20 And all the days of Jared were 962 years, and he died. 5:21 And Enoch lived 65 years, and begat Methuselah. 5:22 And Enoch walked with God after he begat Methuselah 300 years, and begat sons and daughters. 5:23 And all the days of Enoch were 365 years. 5:24 And Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. 5:25 And Methuselah lived 187 years, and begat Lamech. 5:26 And Methuselah lived after he begat Lamech 782 years, and begat sons and daughters. 5:27 And all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. 5:28 And Lamech lived 182 years, and begat a son. 5:29 And he called his name Noah, saying, This same shall comfort us in our work and in the toil of our hands, toil because of the ground which Yahweh has cursed. 5:30 And Lamech lived after he begat Noah 595 years, and begat sons and daughters. 5:31 And all the days of Lamech were 777 years, and he died. 5:32 And Noah was 500 years old, and Noah begat Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Chapter 6:1 And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the ground, and daughters were born to them. 6:2 That the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and they took themselves wives of all that they chose. 6:3 And Yahweh said, My spirit shall not strive with man forever, For that he also is flesh, yet shall his days be 120 years. 6 For the Nephilim were in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came to the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. The same were the mighty men that were of old, the men of renown. 6:5 And Yahweh saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. 6:6 And Yahweh regretted that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him to his heart. 6:7 And Yahweh said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the ground, both man, and beast, and creeping things, and birds of the heavens, for I am sorry that I have made them. 6:8 But Noah found favor in the eyes of Yahweh. 6:9 These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, and perfect in his generations. Noah walked with God. 6:10 And Noah begat 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. 6:11 And the earth was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. 6:12 And God saw the earth, and, behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way upon the earth. 6:13 And God said to Noah, The end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them, and, behold, I will destroy them with the earth. 6:14 Make you an ark of gopher wood, rooms shall you make in the ark, and shall pitch it within and without with pitch. 6:15 And this is how you shall make it: the length of the ark 300 cubits, the breadth of it 50 cubits, and the height of it 30 cubits. 6:16 A light shall you make to the ark, and to a cubit shall you finish it upward, and the door of the ark shall you set in the side thereof, with lower, second, and third stories shall you make it. 6:17 And I, behold, I am bringing the flood of waters upon this earth, to destroy all flesh, in which is the breath of life, from under heaven. Everything that is in the earth shall die. 6:18 But I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall come into the ark, you, and your sons, and your wife, and your sons' wives with you. 6:19 And of every living thing of all flesh, 2 of every sort shall you bring into the ark, to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female. 6:20 Of the birds after their kind, and of the cattle after their kind, of every creeping thing of the ground after its kind, 2 of every sort shall come to you, to keep them alive. 6:21 And take to yourselves of all food that is eaten, and gather it to you, and it shall be for food for you, and for them. 6:22 Thus Noah did, according to all that God commanded him, so did he. Chapter 7:7 And Yahweh said to Noah, Come you and all your house into the ark, for you have I seen righteous before me in this generation. 7:2 Of every clean beast you shall take to you 7 and 7, the male and his female, and of the beasts that are not clean, 2, the male and his female. 7:3 Of the birds also of the heavens, 7 and 7, male and female, to keep seed alive upon the face of all the earth. 7:4 For yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights, and every living thing that I have made will I destroy from off the face of the ground. 7:5 And Noah did according to all that Yahweh commanded him. 7:6 And Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters was upon the earth. 7:7 And Noah went in, and his sons, and his wife, and his sons' wives with him, into the ark, because of the waters of the flood. 7:8 Of clean beasts, and of beasts that are not clean, and of birds, and of everything that creeps upon the ground. 7:9 There went in 2 and 2 to Noah into the ark, male and female, as God commanded Noah. 7:10 And it came to pass after the 7 days, that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. 7:11 In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day of the month, on the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. 7:12 And the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. 7:13 In the selfsame day entered Noah, and Shem, and Ham, and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them, into the ark. 7:14 They, and every beast after its kind, and all the cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth after its kind, and every bird after its kind, every bird of every sort. 7:15 And they went into Noah into the ark, 2 and 2 of all flesh in which the breath of life is. 7:16 And they that went in male and female of all flesh, as God commanded him, and Yahweh shut him in. 7:17 And the flood was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased, and bore up the ark, and it was lifted up above the earth. 7:18 And the waters prevailed, and increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark went upon the face of the waters. 7:19 And the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high mountains that were under the whole heaven were covered. 7:20 15 cubits above did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered. 7:21 And all flesh died that moved upon the earth, both birds, and cattle, and beasts, and every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth, and every man. 7:22 All in whose nostrils was the breath of the Spirit of life, of all that was on the dry land, died. 7:23 And every living thing was destroyed that was upon the face of the ground, both man, and cattle, and creeping things, and birds of the heavens, and they were destroyed from the earth, and Noah alone was left, plus those who were with him in the ark, and saw. 7:24 And the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. Chapter 8. 8:1 And God remembered Noah, and all the beasts, and all the cattle that were with him in the ark, and God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters subsided. 8:2 The fountains also of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. 8:3 And the waters returned from off the earth continually, and after the end of 150 days the waters decreased. 8:4 And the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. 8:5 And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, were the tops of the mountains seen. 8:6 And it came to pass at the end of 40 days, that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made. 8:7 And he sent forth a raven, and it went forth to and fro, until the waters were dried up from off the earth. 8:8 And he sent forth a dove from him, to see if the waters were abated from off the face of the ground. 8:9 But the dove found no rest for the sole of her foot, and she returned to him to the ark, for the waters were on the face of the whole earth. And he put forth his hand, and took her, and brought her into him into the ark, and saw. 8:10 And he stayed yet other 7 days, and again he sent forth the dove out of the ark. 8:11 And the dove came into him at eventide, and, lo, in her mouth an olive leaf plucked off. So Noah knew that the waters were abated from off the earth. 8:12 And he stayed yet other 7 days, and sent forth the dove, and she returned not again to him any more. 8:13 And it came to pass in the 601st year, in the 1st month, the 1st day of the month, the waters were dried up from off the earth, and Noah removed their covering of the ark, and looked, and, behold, the face of the ground was dried. 8:14 And in the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, was the earth dry. 8:15 And God spoke to Noah, saying. 8:16 Go forth from the ark, you, and your wife, and your sons, and your sons' wives with you. 8:17 Bring forth with you every living thing that is with you of all flesh, both birds, and cattle, and every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth, that they may breed abundantly in the earth, and be fruitful, and multiply upon the earth. 8:18 And Noah went forth, and his sons, and his wife, and his sons' wives with him. 8:19 Every beast, every creeping thing, and every bird, whatsoever moves upon the earth, after their families, went forth out of the ark, and saw. 8:20 And Noah built an altar to Yahweh, and took of every clean beast, and of every clean bird, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. 8:21 And Yahweh smelled the sweet savour, and Yahweh said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake, for that the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth, neither will I again destroy any more everything living, as I have done. 8:22 While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. Chapter 9:1 And God blessed Noah and his sons, and said to them, Be fruitful, and multiply, and replenish the earth. 9:2 And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every bird of the heavens, with all with which the ground teems, and all the fishes of the sea. Into your hand are they delivered. 9:3 Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you, just as the green herb, have I now given you all things. 9:4 But flesh with the life of it, which is the blood of it, ye shall not eat. 9:5 And surely your blood, the blood of your lives, will I require, at the hand of every beast will I require it, and at the hand of man, even at the hand of every man's brother, will I require the life of man. 9:6 Whoever sheds man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed, for in the image of God made he man. 9:7 And you, be ye fruitful, and multiply, bring forth abundantly in the earth, and multiply therein. 9:8 And God spoke to Noah, and to his sons with him, saying, 9:9 And I, behold, I establish my covenant with you, and with your seed after you. 9:10 And with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the cattle, and every beast of the earth with you, of all that go out of the ark, even every beast of the earth. 9:11 And I will establish my covenant with you, neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of the flood, neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the earth. 9:12 And God said, This is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you, for perpetual generations. 9:13 I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth. 9:14 And it shall come to pass, when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the bow shall be seen in the cloud. 9:15 And I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh, and the waters shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. 9:16 And the bow shall be in the cloud, and I will look upon it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth. 9:17 And God said to Noah, This is the token of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth. 9:18 And the sons of Noah that went forth from the ark were Shem, and Ham, and Japheth. And Ham is the father of Canaan. 9:19 These three were the sons of Noah, and from these was the whole earth overspread. 9:20 And Noah began to be a husbandman, and planted a vineyard. 9:21 And he drank of the wine, and was drunk, and he was uncovered within his tent. 9:22 And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and told his two brothers outside. 9:23 And Shem and Japheth took a garment, and laid it upon both their shoulders, and went backward, and covered the nakedness of their father. And their faces were backward, and they saw not their father's nakedness. 9:24 And Noah awoke from his wine, and knew what his youngest son had done to him. 9:25 And he said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be to his brethren. 9:26 And he said, Blessed be Yahweh, the God of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. 9:27 God enlarged Japheth, and let him dwell in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. 9:28 And Noah lived after the flood 350 years. 9:29 And all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. Chapter 10:10 Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, namely, of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and to them were sons born after the flood. 10:2 The sons of Japheth Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Javan, and Tubal, and Mesh, and Tiras. 10:3 And the sons of Gomer Ashkenaz, and Rephath, and Togarmah. 10:4 And the sons of Javan Elisha, and Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. 10:5 From these were the island and coastal peoples divided in their lands, every one after his tongue, after their families, in their nations. 10:6 And the sons of Ham Cush, and Mizraim, and Put, and Canaan. 10:7 And the sons of Cush Seba, and Havilah, and Subter, and Ramah, and Sabteka. and the sons of Ramesheba, and Dedan. 10:8 And Cush begat Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. 10:9 He was a mighty hunter before Yahweh, therefore it is said, like Nimrod a mighty hunter before Yahweh. 10:10 And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Ir, and Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar. 10:11 Out of that land he went forth into Assyria, and built Nineveh, and Rehobothia, and Calah. 10:12 And Resen between Nineveh and Calah, the same is the great city. 10:13 And Mizraim begat Ludim, and Anamim, and Lehabim, and Naphtuim. 10:14 And Pathrusim, and Casluim, and Caphtorim, from which come the Philistines. 10:15 And Canaan begat Sidon his firstborn, and Heth. 10:16 And the Jebusite, and the Amorite, and the Girgashite. 10:17 And the Hivite, and the Archite, and the Sinite. 10:18 And the Arvadite, and the Zemarite, and the Hamathite. And afterward were the families of the Canaanites spread abroad. 10:19 And the border of the Canaanite was from Sidon, as you go toward Jera, up to Gaza, as you go toward Sodom and Gomorrah and Admah and Zeboim, up to Lasha. 10:20 These are the sons of Ham, after their families, after their tongues, in their lands, in their nations. 10:21 And to Shem, the father of all the children of Eber, the elder brother of Japheth, to him also were children born. 10:22 The sons of Shem Elam, and and Arphaxad, and Lud, and Aram. 10:23 And the sons of Aram Uz, and Hul, and Gether, and Mash. 10:24 And Arphaxad begat Shelah, and Shelah begat Eber. 10:25 And to Eber were born two sons. The name of the one was Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. 10:26 And Joktan begat Armadad, and Sheleph, and Hazamavath, and Jerah. 10:27 And Hadoram, and Uzal, and Diklah. 10:28 And Obal, and Abimael, and Sheba. 10:29 And Ophir, and Havilah, and Jobab. All these were the sons of Joktan. 10:30 And their dwelling was from Meshor, as you go toward Sephir, the mountain of the east. 10:31 These are the sons of Shem, after their families, after their tongues, in their lands, after their nations. 10:32 These are the families of the sons of Noah, after their generations, in their nations. And from these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood. Chapter 11:11:1 And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. 11:2 And it came to pass, as they journeyed east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. 11:3 And they said one to another, Come, let us make brick, and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. 11:4 And they said, Come, let us build us a city, and a tower, whose top may reach to heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. 11:5 And Yahweh came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men had built. 11:6 And Yahweh said, Behold, they are one people, and they have all one language, and this is what they begin to do, and now nothing will be withheld from them, which they purpose to do. 11:7 Come, let us go down, and they confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. 11:8 So Yahweh scattered them abroad from there upon the face of all the earth, and they left off building the city. 11:9 Therefore was the name of it called Babel, because Yahweh did confound the language of all the earth, and from the did Yahweh scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. 11:10 These are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old, and begat Arphaxad 2 years after the flood. 11:11 And Shem lived 500 years after he begat Arphaxad, and begat sons and daughters. 11:12 And Arphaxad lived 35 years, and begat Shelah. 11:13 And Arphaxad lived after he begat Shelah 403 years, and begat sons and daughters. 11:14 And Shelah lived 30 years, and begat Eber. 11:15 And Shelah lived after he begat Eber 403 years, and begat sons and daughters. 11:16 And Eber lived 34 years, and begat Peleg. 11:17 And Eber lived after he begat Peleg 430 years, and begat sons and daughters. 11:18 And Peleg lived 30 years, and begat Reu. 11:19 And Peleg lived after he begat Reu 209 years, and begat sons and daughters. 11:20 And Reu lived 32 years, and begat Serug. 11:21 And Reu lived after he begat Serug 207 years, and begat sons and daughters. 11:22 And Serug lived 30 years, and begat Nahor. 11:23 And Serug lived after he begat Nahor 200 years, and begat sons and daughters. 11:24 And Nahor lived 29 years, and begat Terah. 11:25 And Nahor lived after he begat Terah 119 years, and begat sons and daughters. 11:26 And Terah lived 70 years, and begat Abram, Nahor, and Haran. 11:27 Now these are the generations of Terah. Terah begat Abram, Nahor, and Haran begat Lot. 11:28 And Haran died before his father Terah in the land of his nativity, in Ur of the Chaldees. 11:29 And Abram and Nahor took them wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife, Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, and the father of Iscah. 11:30 And Sarai was barren, she had no child. 11:31 And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees, to go into the land of Canaan, and they came to Haran, and dwelt there. 11:32 And the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. Chapter 12:1 Now Yahweh said to Abram, Get you out of your country, and from your kindred, and from your father's house, to the land that I will show you. 12:2 And I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you, and make your name great, such that you will be a blessing. 12:3 And I will bless them that bless you, and him that curses you will I curse, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. 12:4 So Abram went, as Yahweh had spoken to him, and Lot went with him, and Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. 12:5 And Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran, and they went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came. 12:6 And Abram passed through the land to the place of Shechem, to the oak of Moreh, and the Canaanite was then in the land. 12:7 And Yahweh appeared to Abram, and said, To your seed I will give this land. And there built he an altar to Yahweh, who appeared to him. 12:8 And he removed from there to the mountain on the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west, and Ai on the east, and there he built an altar to Yahweh, and called upon the name of Yahweh. 12:9 And Abram journeyed, going on still toward the south. 12:10 And there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down into Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was severe in the land. 12:11 And it came to pass, when he was come near to enter into Egypt, that he said to Sarai his wife, Behold now, I know that you are a fair woman to look upon. 12:12 And it will come to pass, when the Egyptians shall see you, that they will say, This is his wife, and they will kill me, but they will save you alive. 12:13 Say, I pray you, you are my sister, that it may be well with me for your sake, and that my soul may live because of you. 12:14 And it came to pass, that, when Abram was come into Egypt, the Egyptians beheld the woman that she was very fair. 12:15 And the princes of Pharaoh saw her, and praised her to Pharaoh, and the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. 12:16 And he treated Abram well for her sake, and he had sheep, and oxen, and he asses, and men servants, and maidservants, and she asses, and camels. 12:17 And Yahweh plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. 12:18 And Pharaoh called Abram, and said, What is this that you have done to me? Why did you not tell me that she was your wife? 12:19 Why did you say, She is my sister, so that I took her to be my wife? Now therefore behold your wife, take her, and go your way. 12:20 And Pharaoh gave men charge concerning him, and they brought him on the way, and his wife, and all that he had. Chapter 13:1 And Abram went up out of Egypt, he, and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him, into the south. 13:2 And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold. 13:3 And he went on his journeys from the south as far as Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Ai. 13:4 To the place of the altar, which he had made there at the first, and there Abram called on the name of Yahweh. 13:5 And Lot also, who went with Abram, had flocks, and herds, and tents. 13:6 And the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together, for their substance was great, so that they could not dwell together. 13:7 And there was a strife between the herdsmen of Abram's cattle and the herdsmen of Lot's cattle, and the Canaanite and the Perizzite dwelt then in the land. 13:8 And Abram said to Lot, Let there be no strife, I pray you, between me and you, and between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are brethren. 13:9 Is not the whole land before you? Separate yourself, I pray you, from me. If you will take the left hand, then I will go to the right, or if you take the right hand, then I will go to the left. 13:10 And Lot lifted up his eyes, and beheld all the plain of the Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before Yahweh destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of Yahweh, like the land of Egypt, as you go towards Zoar. 13:11 So Lot chose him all the plain of the Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves the one from the other. 13:12 Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelt in the cities of the plain, and moved his tent as far as Sodom. 13:13 Now the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners against Yahweh exceedingly. 13:14 And Yahweh said to Abram, after that Lot was separated from him, Lift up now your eyes, and look from the place where you are, northward and southward and eastward and westward. 13:15 For all the land which you see, to you will I give it, and to your seed forever. 13:16 And I will make your seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then may your seed also be numbered. 13:17 Arise, walk through the land in the length of it and in the breadth of it, for to you will I give it. 13:18 And Abram moved his tent, and came and dwelt by the oaks of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and built there an altar to Yahweh. Chapter 14:1 And it came to pass in the days of Amraphel king of Shinar, Ariosh king of Elazar, Chedorlaomer king of Elam, and Tidal king of Goyim, 14:2 That they made war with Bera king of Sodom, and with Bershah king of Gomorrah, Shinab king of Admah, and Shemeba king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, the same is Zoar. 14:3 All these joined together in the valley of Siddim, the same is the Salt Sea. 14:4 12 years they served Chedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. 14:5 And in the 14th year came Chedorlaomer, and the kings that were with him, and defeated the Rephaim in Ashtaroth Karnaim, and the Zuzim in Ham, and the Imim in Shavah-Kiriataim. 14:6 And the Horites in their Mount Seir, to El-Paran, which is by the wilderness. 14:7 And they returned, and came to En-Mispate, the same is Gadesh, and defeated all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites, that dwelt in Hazazon-Tamar. 14:8 And there went out the king of Sodom, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Admah, and the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, the same is Zoar, and they set the battle in array against them in the valley of Siddim. 14:9 Against Chedorlaomer king of Elam, and Tidal king of Goyim, and Amraphel king of Shinar, and Ariosh king of Elazar, 4 kings against the 5. 14:10 Now the valley of Siddim was full of slime pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, and they fell there, and they that remained fled to the mountain. 14:11 And they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their victuals, and went their way. 14:12 And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. 14:13 And there came one that had escaped, and told Abram the Hebrew. Now he dwelt by the oaks of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, and brother of Anna, and these were confederate with Abram. 14:14 And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he led forth his trained men, born in his house, 318, and pursued as far as Dan. 14:15 And he divided himself against them by night, he and his servants, and defeated them, and pursued them to Hobah, which is on the left hand of Damascus. 14:16 And he brought back all the goods, and also brought back his brother Lot, and his goods, and the women also, and the people. 14:17 And the king of Sodom went out to meet him, after his return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer and the kings that were with him, at the valley of Shaveh, the same is the king's valley. 14:18 And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was priest of God Most High. 14:19 And he blessed him, and said, Blessed be Abram of God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth. 14:20 And blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hand. And he gave him a tenth of all. 14:21 And the king of Sodom said to Abram, Give me the persons, and take the goods to yourself. 14:22 And Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted up my hand to Yahweh, God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth. 14:23 That I will not take a thread nor a shoe latchet nor anything that is yours, lest you should say, I have made Abram rich. 14:24 Save only that which the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men that went with me, Anna, Ishkol, and Mah. Let them take their portion. Chapter 15:1 After these things the word of Yahweh came to Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am your shield, and your exceedingly great reward. 15:2 And Abram said, O Lord Yahweh, what will you give me, seeing I go childless, and he that shall be possessor of my house is Elzar of Damascus. 15:3 And Abram said, Behold, to me you have given no seed, and, lo, one born in my house is my heir. 15:4 And, behold, the word of Yahweh came to him, saying, This man shall not be your heir, but he that shall come forth out of your own bowels shall be your heir. 15:5 And he brought him forth abroad, and said, Look now toward heaven, and number the stars, if you be able to number them. And he said to him, So shall your seed be. 15:6 And he believed in Yahweh, and he reckoned it to him for righteousness. 15:7 And he said to him, I am Yahweh that brought you out of Ur of the Chaldees, to give you this land to inherit it. 15:8 And he said, O Lord Yahweh, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it? 15:9 And he said to him, Take me a heifer 3 years old, and a she-goat 3 years old, and a ram 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. 15:10 And he took him all these, and divided them in the midst, and laid each half over against the other, but the birds divided he not. 15:11 And the birds of prey came down upon the carcasses, and Abram drove them away. 15:12 And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and, lo, a horror of great darkness fell upon him. 15:13 And he said to Abram, Know of a surety that your seed shall be sojourners in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. 15:14 And also that nation, whom they shall serve, will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. 15:15 But you shall go to your fathers in peace, you shall be buried at a good old age. 15:16 And in the 4th generation they shall come here again, for the iniquity of the Amorite is not yet full. 15:17 And it came to pass, that, when the sun went down, and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace, and a flaming torch that passed between these pieces. 15:18 In that day Yahweh made a covenant with Abram, saying, To your seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates. 15:19 The Kenite, and the Kenite, and the Cadmonite. 15:20 And the Hittite, and the Perizzite, and the Rephaim. 15:21 And the Amorite, and the Canaanite, and the Girgashite, and the Jebusite. Chapter 16:1 Now Sarai, Abram's wife, bore him no children, and she had a handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. 16:2 And Sarai said to Abram, Behold now, Yahweh has restrained me from bearing. Go in, I pray you, to my handmaid, it may be that I shall obtain children by her. And Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarai. 16:3 And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar the Egyptian, her handmaid, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to Abram her husband to be his wife. 16:4 And he went into Hagar, and she conceived, and when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. 16:5 And Sarai said to Abram, My wrong be upon you, I gave my handmaid into your bosom, and when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. Yahweh judge between me and you. 16:6 But Abram said to Sarai, Behold, your maid is in your hand, do to her that which is good in your eyes. And Sarai dealt harshly with her, and she fled from her face. 16:7 And the angel of Yahweh found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, by the spring on the way to Shur. 16:8 And he said, Hagar, Sarai's handmaid, where did you come from? And where are you going? And she said, I am fleeing from the face of my mistress Sarai. 16:9 And the angel of Yahweh said to her, Return to your mistress, and submit yourself under her hands. 16:10 And the angel of Yahweh said to her, I will greatly multiply your seed, such that it shall not be numbered for multitude. 16:11 And the angel of Yahweh said to her, Behold, you are with child, and shall bear a son, and you shall call his name Ishmael, because Yahweh has heard your affliction. 16:12 And he shall be as a wild donkey among men. His hand shall be against every man, and every man's hand against him, and he shall dwell over against all his brethren. 16:13 And so she gave a name to Yahweh who had spoken to her, You are a God that sees. For, she said, Surely here I have looked upon the back of him who sees me. 16:14 For which reason the well was called Beer-lahai-roi. Behold, it remains between Kadesh and Bead. 16:15 And Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram called the name of his son, whom Hagar bore, Ishmael. 16:16 And Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael to Abram. Chapter 17:17 And when Abram was 99 years old, Yahweh appeared to Abram, and said to him, I am God Almighty, walk before me, and be perfect. 17:2 And I will make my covenant between me and you, and will multiply you exceedingly. 17:3 And Abram fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, 17:4 As for me, behold, my covenant is with you, and you shall be the father of a multitude of nations. 17:5 Neither shall your name any more be called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham, for the father of a multitude of nations I have made you. 17:6 And I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations from you, and kings shall come out of you. 17:7 And I will establish my covenant between me and you and your seed after you throughout their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be a God to you and to your seed after you. 17:8 And I will give to you, and to your seed after you, the land of your sojournings, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. 17:9 And God said to Abraham, And as for you, you shall keep my covenant, you, and your seed after you throughout their generations. 17:10 This is my covenant, which you and they shall keep, between me and you and your seed who are after you, every male among you shall be circumcised. 17:11 And you shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskins, and it shall be a token of a covenant between me and you. 17:12 And he who is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every male throughout your generations, he who is born in the house, or purchased with money from any foreigner who is not of your seed. 17:13 Both he who is born in your house and he who is purchased with your money must surely be circumcised. And thus my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. 17:14 And the uncircumcised male who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, that soul shall be cut off from his people, he has broken my covenant. 17:15 And God said to Abraham, As for Sarai your wife, you shall not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall be her name. 17:16 And I will bless her, and moreover I will give you a son from her. Yes, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations, kings of peoples shall be from her. 17:17 Then Abraham fell on his face, and laughed, and said in his heart, Shall a child be born to him who is 100 years old? And shall Sarah, who is 90 years old, bear? 17:18 And Abraham said to God, Oh that Ishmael might live before you. 17:19 And God said, No, but Sarah your wife shall bear you a son, and you shall call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant for his seed after him. 17:20 And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. 17:21 But with Isaac will I establish my covenant, whom Sarah shall bear to you at this set time in the next year. 17:22 Then God left off talking with him, and he went up from Abraham. 17:23 And Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all who were born in his house, and all who were purchased with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and he circumcised the flesh of their foreskins that very same day, as God had said to him. 17:24 And Abraham was 99 years old, when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. 17:25 And Ishmael his son was 13 years old, when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. 17:26 During that same day was Abraham circumcised, and Ishmael his son. 17:27 And all the men of his house, those born in the house, and those bought with money from a foreigner, were circumcised along with him. Chapter 18:1 And Yahweh appeared to him by the oaks of Mamre, as he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. 18:2 And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and, lo, 3 men stood over against him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself to the earth. 18:3 And said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in your sight, pass not away, I pray you, from your servant. 18:4 Let now a little water be brought, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. 18:5 And I will get a morsel of bread, and you strengthen your hearts. And after that you shall pass on, for as much as ye are come to your servant. And they said, So do, as you have said. 18:6 And Abraham hurried into the tent toward Sarah, and said, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes. 18:7 And Abraham ran to the herd, and fetched a calf tender and good, and gave it to the servant, and he made haste to dress it. 18:8 And he took butter, and milk, and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. 18:9 And they said to him, Where is Sarah your wife? And he said, Behold, in the tent. 18:10 And he said, I will certainly return to you when the season comes around, and, lo, Sarah your wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard in the tent door, which was behind him. 18:11 Now Abraham and Sarah were old, well advanced in age, and it had ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. 18:12 And Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I am grown old shall I have this pleasure, with my master being old as well? 18:13 And Yahweh said to Abraham, Why did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I really bear a child, who am old? 18:14 Is anything too hard for Yahweh? At the set time I will return to you, when the season comes around, and Sarah shall have a son. 18:15 Then Sarah denied it, saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. And he said, On the contrary, you did laugh. 18:16 And the men rose up from there, and looked towards Sodom. And Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. 18:17 And Yahweh said, Shall I hide from Abraham that which I am doing? 18:18 Seeing that Abraham had surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. 18:19 For I have known him, to the end that he may command his children and his household after him, that they may keep the way of Yahweh, to do righteousness and justice, to the end that Yahweh may bring upon Abraham that which he has spoken of him. 18:20 And Yahweh said, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous. 18:21 I will go down now, and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which has come to me, and if not, I will know. 18:22 And the men turned from there, and went towards Sodom, but Abraham stood yet before Yahweh. 18:23 And Abraham drew near, and said, will you consume the righteous with the wicked? 18:24 Suppose there are 50 righteous persons within the city. Will you consume, and not spare the place for the sake of the 50 righteous that are in there? 18:25 That be far from you to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, such that the righteous should be as the wicked, that be far from you shall not the judge of all the earth do right. 18:26 And Yahweh said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sake. 18:27 And Abraham answered and said, behold now, I have taken upon me to speak to the Lord, I who am but dust and ashes. 18:28 Suppose there shall lack 5 of the 50 righteous, will you destroy all the city for lack of 5? And he said, I will not destroy it, if I find the 40 and 5. 18:29 And he spoke to him yet again, and said, suppose there shall be 40 found there. And he said, I will not do it for the 40's sake. 18:30 And he said, oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak, suppose there shall 30 be found there. And he said, I will not do it, if I find 30 there. 18:31 And he said, behold now, I have taken upon me to speak to the Lord, suppose there shall be 20 found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for the 20's sake. 18:32 And he said, oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak yet but this once, suppose 10 shall be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for the 10's sake. 18:33 And Yahweh went his way, as soon as he had left off communing with Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. Chapter 19:1 And the 2 angels came to Sodom at evening, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom, and Lot saw them, and rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face to the earth. 19:2 And he said, behold now, my lords, turn aside, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early, and go on your way. And they said, nay, but we will abide in the street all night. 19:3 And he urged them greatly, and they turned into him, and entered into his house, and he made them a feast, and did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. 19:4 But before they lay down, the men of the city, that is the men of Sodom, surrounded the house, both young and old, all the people from every quarter. 19:5 And they called to Lot, and said to him, where are the men that came into you this night? Bring them out to us, that we may have sex with them. 19:6 And Lot went out to them to the door, and shut the door behind him. 19:7 And he said, I pray you, my brothers, do not so wickedly. 19:8 Behold now, I have 2 daughters that have not had sex with a man, let me, I pray you, bring them out to you, and do ye to them as is good in your eyes, only to these men do nothing, for as much as they are come under the shelter of my roof. 19:9 And they said, stand back. And they said, this one fellow came to sojourn, and he will needs be a judge. Now we will deal with you worse than with them. And they pressed hard upon the man, even Lot, and drew near to break the door. 19:10 But the men put forth their hand, and brought Lot into the house to them, and shut to the door. 19:11 And they struck the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they wearied themselves to find the door. 19:12 And the men said to Lot, have you here any besides you, son-in-law, and your sons, and your daughters, and whomsoever you have in the city, bring them out of the place. 19:13 For we will destroy this place, because the cry of them is become great before Yahweh, and Yahweh has sent us to destroy it. 19:14 And Lot went out, and spoke to his sons-in-law, who married his daughters, and said, Up, get yourself out of this place, for Yahweh will destroy the city. But he seemed to his sons-in-law as one that mocked. 19:15 And when the morning arose, then the angels hurried Lot, saying, Arise, take your wife, and your 2 daughters that are here, lest you be consumed in the iniquity of the city. 19:16 But he lingered, and the men laid hold upon his hand, and upon the hand of his wife, and upon the hand of his 2 daughters, Yahweh being merciful to him, and they brought him forth, and set him outside the city. 19:17 And it came to pass, when they had brought them forth abroad, that he said, Escape for your life, look not behind you, neither stay you in all the plain, escape to the mountain, lest you be consumed. 19:18 And Lot said to them, Oh, not so, my lord. 19:19 Behold now, your servant has found favor in your sight, and you have magnified your loving kindness, which you have shown to me in saving my life, and I cannot escape to the mountain, lest evil overtake me, and I die. 19:20 Behold now, this city is near to flee to, and it is a little one. Oh, let me escape there, is it not a little one? And my soul shall live. 19:21 And he said to him, See, I have accepted you concerning this thing also, that I will not overthrow the city of which you have spoken. 19:22 Make haste, escape there, for I cannot do anything till you be arrived there. Therefore the name of the city was called Zor. 19:23 The sun was risen upon the earth when Lot came to Zor. 19:24 Then Yahweh rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from Yahweh out of heaven. 19:25 And he overthrew those cities, and all the plain, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground. 19:26 But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. 19:27 And Abraham got up early in the morning to the place where he had stood before Yahweh. 19:28 And he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and toward all the land of the plain, and beheld, and, lo, the smoke of the land went up as the smoke of a furnace. 19:29 And it came to pass, when God destroyed the cities of the plain, that God remembered Abraham, and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot dwelt. 19:30 And Lot went up out of Zor, and dwelt in the mountain, and his 2 daughters with him, for he feared to dwell in Zor, and he dwelt in a cave, he and his 2 daughters. 19:31 And the firstborn said to the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come into us after the manner of all the earth. 19:32 Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. 19:33 And they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in, and lay with her father, and he knew not when she lay down, nor when she arose. 19:34 And it came to pass on the morrow, that the firstborn said to the younger, Behold, I lay last night with my father, let us make him drink wine this night also, and you go in, and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. 19:35 And they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose, and lay with him, and he knew not when she lay down, nor when she arose. 19:36 Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. 19:37 And the firstborn bore a son, and called his name Moab, the same is the father of the Moabites to this day. 19:38 And the younger, she also bore a son, and called his name Ben-Ammi, the same is the father of the children of Ammon to this day. Chapter 20:21 And Abraham journeyed from there toward the land of the south, and dwelt between Kadesh and Shur, and he sojourned in Gerar. 22 And Abraham said of Sarah his wife, She is my sister. And Abimelech king of Gerar sent, and took Sarah. 23 But God came to Abimelech in a dream of the night, and said to him, Behold, you are but a dead man, because of the woman whom you have taken, for she is a man's wife. 24 Now Abimelech had not come near her, and he said, Lord, will you slay even a righteous nation? 25 Said he not himself to me, She is my sister? And she, even she herself said, he is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and the innocence of my hands have I done this. 26 And God said to him in the dream, Yes, I know that in the integrity of your heart you have done this, and I also withheld you from sinning against me. Therefore I did not allow you not to touch her. 27 Now therefore restore the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he shall pray for you, and you shall live. And if you restore her not, know that you shall surely die, you, and all that are yours. 28 And Abimelech rose early in the morning, and called all his servants, and told all these things in their ear. And the men were sore afraid. 29 Then Abimelech called Abraham, and said to him, What have you done to us, and in what way have I sinned against you, that you have brought on me and on my kingdom a great sin? You have done deeds to me that ought not to be done. 10 And Abimelech said to Abraham, What saw you, that you have done this thing? 11 And Abraham said, Because I thought, surely the fear of God is not in this place, and they will slay me for my wife's sake. 12 And moreover she is indeed my sister, the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. 13 And it came to pass, when God caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said to her, This is your kindness which you shall show to me. At every place whither we shall come, say of me, He is my brother. 14 And Abimelech took sheep and oxen, and men servants and women servants, and gave them to Abraham, and restored him Sarah his wife. 15 And Abimelech said, Behold, my land is before you. Dwell where it pleases you. 16 And to Sarah he said, Behold, I have given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Behold, it is for you a covering of the eyes of all who are with you. And in respect of everyone, you are vindicated. 17 And Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech, and his wife, and his maidservants, and they bore children. 18 For Yahweh had fast closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech, because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Chapter 21 1 And Yahweh visited Sarah as he had said, and Yahweh did to Sarah as he had spoken. 2 And Sarah conceived, and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time of which God had spoken to him. 3 And Abraham called the name of his son that was born to him, whom Sarah bore to him, Isaac. 4 And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac when he was 8 days old, as God had commanded him. 5 And Abraham was 100 years old, when his son Isaac was born to him. 6 And Sarah said, God has caused me to laugh. Everyone that hears will laugh with me. 7 And she said, Who would have said to Abraham, that Sarah would give children suck? For I have borne him a son in his old age. 8 And the child grew, and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast on the day that Isaac was weaned. 9 And Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, whom she had borne to Abraham, mocking. 10 Wherefore she said to Abraham, Cast out this handmaid and her son, for the son of this handmaid shall not be heir with my son, even with Isaac. 11 And the thing was very grievous in Abraham's sight on account of his son. 12 And God said to Abraham, Let it not be grievous in your sight because of the lad, and because of your handmaid. In all that Sarah says to you, hearken to her voice. For in Isaac shall your seed be called. 13 And also from the son of the handmaid will I make a nation, because he is your seed. 14 And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and took bread and a bottle of water, and gave it to Hagar, putting it on her shoulder, and gave her the child, and sent her away. And she departed, and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. 15 And the water in the bottle was spent, and she placed the child under one of the shrubs. 16 And she went, and sat herself down over opposite him a good way off, about a bowshot. For she said, Let me not look upon the death of the child. And she sat over opposite him, and lifted up her voice, and wept. 17 And God heard the voice of the lad. And the angel of God called to Hagar out of heaven, and said to her, What ails you? Hagar, fear not, for God has heard the voice of the lad where he is. 21:18 Arise, lift up the lad, and hold him in your hand, for I will make him a great nation. 21:19 And God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. And she went, and filled the bottle with water, and gave the lad a drink. 21:20 And God was with the lad, and he grew, and he dwelt in the wilderness, and became, as he grew up, an archer. 21:21 And he dwelt in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took him a wife out of the land of Egypt. 21:22 And it came to pass at that time, that Abimelech and Phicol the captain of his host spoke to Abraham, saying, God is with you in all that you do. 21:23 Now therefore swear to me here by God that you will not deal falsely with me, nor with my son, nor with my son's son, but according to the kindness that I have done to you, you shall do to me, and to the land in which you have sojourned. 21:24 And Abraham said, I will swear. 21:25 And Abraham reproved Abimelech because of the well of water, which Abimelech's servants had violently taken away. 21:26 And Abimelech said, I know not who has done this thing, neither did you tell me, neither yet heard I of it, but today. 21:27 And Abraham took sheep and oxen, and gave them to Abimelech, and they two made a covenant. 21:28 And Abraham set 7 ewe lambs of the flock by themselves. 21:29 And Abimelech said to Abraham, What mean these 7 ewe lambs which you have set by themselves? 21:30 And he said, These 7 ewe lambs shall you take of my hand, that it may be a witness to me, that I have dug this well. 21:31 Wherefore he called that place Beersheba, because there they swore both of them. 21:32 So they made a covenant at Beersheba, and Abimelech rose up, and Phicol the captain of his host, and they returned into the land of the Philistines. 21:33 And Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba, and called there on the name of Yahweh, the everlasting God. 21:34 And Abraham sojourned in the land of the Philistines many days. Chapter 22:22-1 And it came to pass after these things, that God did test Abraham, and said to him, Abraham, and he said, Here am I. 22:2 And he said, Take now your son, your only son, whom you love, even Isaac, and go into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell you of. 22:3 And Abraham rose early in the morning, and saddled his donkey, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and he split the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up, and went to the place of which God had told him. 22:4 On the 3rd day Abraham lifted up his eyes, and saw the place afar off. 22:5 And Abraham said to his young men, Stay here with the donkey, and I and the lad will go yonder, and we will worship, and come back to you. 22:6 And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering, and laid it upon Isaac his son, and he took in his hand the fire and the knife. And they went both of them together. 22:7 And Isaac spoke to Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here am I, my son. And he said, Behold, the fire and the wood. But where is the lamb for a burnt offering? 22:8 And Abraham said, God will provide himself the lamb for a burnt offering, my son. So they went both of them together. 22:9 And they came to the place which God had told him of, and Abraham built the altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar, upon the wood. 22:10 And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. 22:11 And the angel of Yahweh called to him out of heaven, and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here I am. 22:12 And he said, Lay not your hand upon the lad, neither do anything to him, for now I know that you fear God, seeing you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. 22:13 And Abraham lifted up his eyes, and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in the thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram, and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. 22:14 And Abraham called the name of that place Yahweh Jireh, as it is said to this day, in the mount of Yahweh it shall be provided. 22:15 And the angel of Yahweh called to Abraham a second time out of heaven. 22:16 And said, By myself have I sworn, says Yahweh, because you have done this thing, and have not withheld your son, your only son. 22:17 That in blessing I will bless you, and in multiplying I will multiply your seed as the stars of the heavens, and as the sand which is upon the seashore, and your seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. 22:18 And in your seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice. 22:19 So Abraham returned to his young men, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham dwelt at Beersheba. 22:20 And it came to pass after these things, that it was told Abraham, saying, Behold, Milcah, she also has borne children to your brother Nahor. 22:21 Use his firstborn, and Buz his brother, and Kemuel the father of Aram. 22:22 And Chst, and Hazo, and Pildash, and Jidlaph, and Bethuel. 22:23 And Bethuel begat Rebekah. These 8 did Milcah bear to Nahor, Abraham's brother. 22:24 And his concubine, whose name was Reumah, she also bore Heber, and Gaham, and Tahush, and Makkah. Chapter 23:23 And the life of Sarah was 127 years. These were the years of the life of Sarah. 23:2 And Sarah died in Kiriath Arba, the same is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah, and to weep for her. 23:3 And Abraham rose up from before his dead, and spoke to the children of Heth, saying, 23:4 I am a stranger and a sojourner with you. Give me a possession of a burying place with you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. 23:5 And the children of Heth answered Abraham, saying to him, 23:6 Hear us, my lord. You are a prince of God among us. In the choice of our graveyards bury your dead. None of us shall withhold from you his graveyard, so that you may bury your dead. 23:7 And Abraham rose up, and bowed himself to the people of the land, even to the children of Heth. 23:8 And he communed with them, saying, If it be your mind that I should bury my dead out of my sight, hear me, and entreat for me to Ephron the son of Zohar. 23:9 That he may give me the cave of Machpelah, which he has, which is in the end of his field. For the full price let him give it to me in the midst of you for a possession of a burying place. 23:10 Now Ephron was sitting in the midst of the children of Heth, and Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham in the audience of the children of Heth, even of all that went in at the gate of his city, saying, 23:11 No, my lord, hear me. The field I give you, and the cave that is in it, I give it to you. In the presence of the children of my people give I it to you. Bury your dead. 23:12 And Abraham bowed himself down before the people of the land. 23:13 And he spoke to Ephron in the audience of the people of the land, saying, But if you will, I pray you, hear me. I will give the price of the field. Take it from me, and I will bury my dead there. 23:14 And Ephron answered Abraham, saying to him, 23:15 My lord, listen to me. A piece of land worth 400 shekels of silver, what is that between me and you? Bury therefore your dead. 23:16 And Abraham listened to Ephron, and Abraham weighed to Ephron the silver which he had named in the audience of the children of Heth, 400 shekels of silver, current money with the merchant. 23:17 So the field of Ephron, which was in Machpelah, which was before the field, and the cave which was in it, and all the trees that were in the field, that were in all the border of it round about, were made sure. 23:18 To Abraham for a possession in the presence of the children of Heth, before all that went in at the gate of his city. 23:19 And after this, Abraham buried Sarah his wife in the cave of the field of Machpelah before the same is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. 23:20 And the field, and the cave that is in it, were deeded by the children of Heth to Abraham for a burying place. Chapter 24:24 1 And Abraham was old, and well advanced in age. And Yahweh had blessed Abraham in all things. 24:2 And Abraham said to his servant, the elder of his house, that ruled over all that he had, put, I pray you, your hand under my thigh. 24:3 And I will make you swear by Yahweh, the God of heaven and the God of the earth, that you will not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I dwell. 24:4 But you shall go to my country, and to my kindred, and take a wife for my son Isaac. 24:5 And the servant said to him, suppose the woman will not be willing to follow me to this land. Must I then take your son back to the land from where you came? 24:6 And Abraham said to him, see to it that you take not my son there again. 24:7 Yahweh, the God of heaven, who took me from my father's house, and from the land of my nativity, and who spoke to me, and who swore to me, saying, to your seed will I give this land, he will send his angel before you, and you shall take a wife for my son from there. 24:8 And if the woman be not willing to follow you, then you shall be clear from this my oath, only you shall not take my son there again. 24:9 And the servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham his master, and swore to him concerning this matter. 24:10 And the servant took 10 camels, of the camels of his master, and departed, having all kinds of good things of his master's in his hand. And he arose, and went to Mesopotamia, to the city of Nahor. 24:11 And he made the camels kneel down outside the city by the well of water at the time of evening, the time that women go out to draw water. 24:12 And he said, O Yahweh, the God of my master Abraham, send me, I pray you, good speed this day, and show kindness to my master Abraham. 24:13 Behold, I am standing by the spring of water, and the daughters of the men of the city are coming out to draw water. 24:14 And let it come to pass, that the damsel to whom I shall say, let down your pitcher, I pray you, that I may drink, and she shall say, drink, and I will give your camels a drink also, let the same be she that you have appointed for your servant Isaac. And thereby shall I know that you have shown kindness to my master. 24:15 And it came to pass, before he had finished speaking, that, behold, Rebekah came out, who was born to Bethuel the son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, with her pitcher upon her shoulder. 24:16 And the damsel was very fair to look upon, a virgin, neither had any man known her. And she went down to the spring, and filled her pitcher, and came up. 24:17 And the servant ran to meet her, and said, give me to drink, I pray you, a little water from your pitcher. 24:18 And she said, drink, my lord. And she hurried, and let down her pitcher upon her hand, and gave him a drink. 24:19 And when she had done giving him a drink, she said, I will draw for your camels also, until they have finished drinking. 24:20 And she hurried, and emptied her pitcher into the trough, and ran back to the well to draw, and drew for all his camels. 24:21 And the man looked steadfastly upon her, holding his peace, to know whether Yahweh had made his journey prosperous or not. 24:22 And it came to pass, as the camels had finished drinking, that the man took a golden ring of half a shekel weight, and 2 bracelets for her hands, of 10 shekels weight of gold. 24:23 And said, whose daughter are you? Tell me, I pray you, is there room in your father's house for us to lodge in? 24:24 And she said to him, I am the daughter of Bethuel the son of Milcah, whom she bore to Nahor. 24:25 She said moreover to him, we have both straw and fodder enough, and room to lodge in. 24:26 And the man bowed his head, and worshipped Yahweh. 24:27 And he said, blessed be Yahweh, the God of my master Abraham, who has not forsaken his loving kindness and his truth toward my master. As for me, Yahweh has led me in the way to the house of my master's brethren. 24:28 And the damsel ran, and told her mother's house according to these words. 24:29 And Rebekah had a brother, and his name was Laban, and Laban ran out to the man, to the spring. 24:30 And it came to pass, when he saw the ring, and the bracelets upon his sister's hands. And when he heard the words of Rebekah his sister, saying, Thus spoke the man to me, that he came to the man, and, behold, he was standing by the camels at the spring. 24:31 And he said, Come in, you blessed of Yahweh, why are you standing outside? For I have prepared the house, and room for the camels. 24:32 And the man came into the house, and he ungirded the camels, and he provided straw and fodder for the camels, and water to wash his feet and the feet of the men that were with him. 24:33 And there was set food before him to eat. But he said, I will not eat, until I have told my errand. And he said, Speak on. 24:34 And he said, I am Abraham's servant. 24:35 And Yahweh has blessed my master greatly, and he has become great, and he has given him flocks and herds, and silver and gold, and men servants and maidservants, and camels and donkeys. 24:36 And Sarah my master's wife bore a son to my master when she was old, and to him has he given all that he has. 24:37 And my master made me swear, saying, You shall not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, in whose land I dwell. 24:38 But you shall go to my father's house, and to my kindred, and take a wife for my son. 24:39 And I said to my master, Suppose the woman will not follow me. 24:40 And he said to me, Yahweh, before whom I walk, will send his angel with you, and prosper your way, and you shall take a wife for my son from my kindred, and from my father's house. 24:41 Then shall you be clear from my oath, when you come to my kindred, and if they give her not to you, you shall be clear from my oath. 24:42 And I came this day to the spring, and said, O Yahweh, the God of my master Abraham, if only now you do prosper my way which I go. 24:43 Behold, I am standing by the spring of water, and let it come to pass, that the maiden that comes forth to draw, to whom I shall say, Give me, I pray you, a little water from your pitcher to drink. 24:44 And she shall say to me, Both you drink and I will also draw for your camels. Let the same be the woman whom Yahweh has appointed for my master's son. 24:45 And before I had finished speaking in my heart, behold, Rebekah came forth with her pitcher on her shoulder, and she went down to the spring, and drew, and I said to her, Let me drink, I pray you. 24:46 And she made haste, and let down her pitcher from her shoulder, and said, Drink, and I will also give your camels a drink. So I drank, and she made the camels drink also. 24:47 And I questioned her, and said, Whose daughter are you? And she said, The daughter of Bethuel, Nahor's son, whom Milcah bore to him. And I put the ring on her nose, and the bracelets on her arms. 24:48 And I bowed my head, and worshipped Yahweh, and blessed Yahweh, the God of my master Abraham, who had led me in the right way to get my master's brother's daughter for his son. 24:49 And now if ye will deal kindly and truly with my master, tell me, and if not, tell me, so that I may turn to the right hand, or to the left. 24:50 Then Laban and Bethuel answered and said, The thing proceeds from Yahweh, we cannot speak to you bad or good. 24:51 Behold, Rebekah is before you, take her, and go, and let her be your master's son's wife, as Yahweh has spoken. 24:52 And it came to pass, that, when Abraham's servant heard their words, he bowed himself down to the earth to Yahweh. 24:53 And the servant brought forth jewels of silver, and jewels of gold, and raiment, and gave them to Rebekah. He gave also to her brother and to her mother precious things. 24:54 And they did eat and drink, he and the men that were with him, and tarried all night. And they rose up in the morning, and he said, Send me away to my master. 24:55 And her brother and her mother said, Let the damsel abide with us a few days, at the least 10, after that she shall go. 24:56 And he said to them, Hinder me not, seeing Yahweh has prospered my way. Send me away that I may go to my master. 24:57 And they said, We will call the damsel, and inquire at her mouth. 24:58 And they called Rebekah, and said to her, Will you go with this man? And she said, I will go. 24:59 And they sent away Rebekah their sister, and her nurse, and Abraham's servant, and his men. 24:60 And they blessed Rebekah, and said to her, Our sister, may you be the mother of 3,000s of 10,000s, and let your seed possess the gate of those that hate them. 24:61 And Rebekah arose, and her damsels, and they rode upon the camels, and followed the man. And the servant took Rebekah, and went his way. 24:62 And Isaac came from the way of Beer-lahai-roi, for he dwelt in the land of the south. 24:63 And Isaac went out to meditate in the field at the eventide. And he lifted up his eyes, and saw, and, behold, there were camels coming. 24:64 And Rebekah lifted up her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she alighted from the camel. 24:65 And she said to the servant, What man is this that walks in the field to meet us? And the servant said, It is my master. And she took her veil, and covered herself. 24:66 And the servant told Isaac all the things that he had done. 24:67 And Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, and took Rebekah, and she became his wife. And he loved her. And Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. Chapter 25:25 And Abraham took another wife, and her name was Keturah. 25:2 And she bore him Zimran, and Jokshan, and Medan, and Midian, and Ishbak, and Shua. 25:3 And Jokshan begat Sheba, and Didon. And the sons of Didon were Urim, and Letushim, and Lumim. 25:4 And the sons of Midian Ephah, and Ephah, and Hanok, and Abidah, and Elder. All these were the children of Keturah. 25:5 And Abraham gave all that he had to Isaac. 25:6 But to the sons of the concubines that Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts. And he sent them away from Isaac his son, while he still lived, eastward, to the east country. 25:7 And these are the days of the years of Abraham's life which he lived, 175 years. 25:8 And Abraham gave up the ghost, and died in a good old age, an old man, and full of years, and was gathered to his people. 25:9 And Isaac and Ishmael his sons buried him in the cave of Machpelah, in the field of Ephron the son of Zohar the Hittite, which is before Mamre. 25:10 The field which Abraham purchased of the children of Heth. There was Abraham buried, and Sarah his wife. 25:11 And it came to pass after the death of Abraham, that God blessed Isaac his son, and Isaac dwelt by Beer-lahai-roi. 25:12 Now these are the generations of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's handmaid, bore to Abraham. 25:13 And these are the names of the sons of Ishmael, by their names, according to their generations: the firstborn of Ishmael, Ebaioth, and Kedah, and Adbeel, and Mibsam. 25:14 And Misma, and Duma, and Massa. 25:15 Hadad, and Tema, Jetcher, Nephish, and Kedemah. 25:16 These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names, by their villages, and by their encampments. 12 princes according to their nations. 25:17 And these are the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years. And he gave up the ghost and died, and was gathered to his people. 25:18 And they dwelt from Havilah to Shur that is before Egypt, as you go toward Assyria. He abode over against all his brethren. 25:19 And these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begat Isaac. 25:20 And Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel the Syrian of Padanaram, the sister of Laban the Syrian, to be his wife. 25:21 And Isaac entreated Yahweh for his wife, because she was barren, and Yahweh was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. 25:22 And the children struggled together within her, and she said, If it is this way, why do I live? And she went to inquire of Yahweh. 25:23 And Yahweh said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples shall be separated from your bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. 25:24 And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. 25:25 And the first came forth red, all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. 25:26 And after that came forth his brother, and his hand had hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. 25:27 And the boys grew, and Esau was a skillful hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a quiet man, dwelling in tents. 25:28 Now Isaac loved Esau, because he ate of his venison, and Rebekah loved Jacob. 25:29 And Jacob boiled pottage. And Esau came in from the field, and he was faint. 25:30 And Esau said to Jacob, Feed me, I pray you, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. 25:31 And Jacob said, Sell me first your birthright. 25:32 And Esau said, Behold, I am about to die, and what good shall the birthright do me? 25:33 And Jacob said, Swear to me first. And he swore to him, and he sold his birthright to Jacob. 25:34 And Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up, and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. Chapter 26:1 And there was a famine in the land, besides the first famine that was in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went to Abimelech king of the Philistines, to Gerar. 26:2 And Yahweh appeared to him, and said, Go not down into Egypt. Dwell in the land which I shall tell you of. 26:3 Sojourn in this land, and I will be with you, and will bless you. For to you, and to your seed, I will give all these lands, and I will establish the oath which I swore to Abraham your father. 26:4 And I will multiply your seed as the stars of heaven, and will give to your seed all these lands, and in your seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. 26:5 For the reason that Abraham obeyed my voice, and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. 26:6 And Isaac dwelt in Gerar. 26:7 And the men of the place asked him about his wife, and he said, She is my sister. For he feared to say, My wife, lest, said he, the men of the place should kill me for Rebekah, because she was fair to look upon. 26:8 And it came to pass, when he had been there a long time, that Abimelech king of the Philistines looked out at a window, and saw, and, behold, Isaac was sporting with Rebekah his wife. 26:9 And Abimelech called Isaac, and said, Behold, she is definitely your wife. And how is it you said, She is my sister? And Isaac said to him, Because I said, Lest I die because of her. 26:10 And Abimelech said, What is this you have done to us? One of the people might easily have lain with your wife, and you would have brought guilt upon us. 26:11 And Abimelech charged all the people, saying, He that touches this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. 26:12 And Isaac sowed in that land, and found in the same year 100-fold, and Yahweh blessed him. 26:13 And the man became great, and grew more and more until he became very great. 26:14 And he had possessions of flocks, and possessions of herds, and a great household, and the Philistines envied him. 26:15 Now all the wells which his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham his father, the Philistines had plucked, and filled with earth. 26:16 And Abimelech said to Isaac, Go away from us, for you are much mightier than we are. 26:17 And Isaac departed there, and encamped in the valley of Gerar, and dwelt there. 26:18 And Isaac dug again the wells of water, which they had dug in the days of Abraham his father. For the Philistines had stopped them after the death of Abraham, and he called their names after the names by which his father had called them. 26:19 And Isaac's servants dug in the valley, and found there a well of springing water. 26:20 And the herdsmen of Gerar strove with Isaac's herdsmen, saying, The water is ours. And he called the name of the well Esek, because they contended with him. 26:21 And they dug another well, and they strove for that also. And he called the name of it Sitnah. 26:22 And he removed from there, and dug another well. And for that they strove not, and he called the name of it Rehoboth. And he said, For now Yahweh has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land. 26:23 And he went up from the to Beersheba. 26:24 And Yahweh appeared to him the same night, and said, I am the God of Abraham your father. Fear not, for I am with you, and will bless you, and multiply your seed for my servant Abraham's sake. 26:25 And he built an altar there, and called upon the name of Yahweh, and pitched his tent there. And there Isaac's servants dug a well. 26:26 Then Abimelech went to him from Gerar, and Ahuzzath his friend, and Phicol the captain of his host. 26:27 And Isaac said to them, Why are ye come to me, seeing ye hate me, and have sent me away from you? 26:28 And they said, We saw plainly that Yahweh was with you. And we said, Let there now be an oath between us, even between us and you, and let us make a covenant with you. 26:29 That you will do us no hurt, as we have not touched you, and as we have done to you nothing but good, and have sent you away in peace. You are now the blessed of Yahweh. 26:30 And he made them a feast, and they did eat and drink. 26:31 And they rose up early in the morning, and swore one to another. And Isaac sent them away, and they departed from him in peace. 26:32 And it came to pass the same day, that Isaac's servants came, and told him concerning the well which they had dug, and said to him, We have found water. 26:33 And he called it Sheba. Therefore the name of the city is Beersheba to this day. 26:34 And when Esau was 40 years old he took to wife Judith the daughter of Beri the Hittite, and Basemath the daughter of Elon the Hittite. 26:35 And they were a grief of mind to Isaac and to Rebekah. Chapter 27:27 And it came to pass, that when Isaac was old, and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see, he called Esau his elder son, and said to him, My son. And he said to him, Here am I. 27:2 And he said, Behold now, I am old, I know not the day of my death. 27:3 Now therefore take, I pray you, your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the field, and get me venison. 27:4 And make me savory food, such as I love, and bring it to me, that I may eat, that my soul may bless you before I die. 27:5 And Rebekah heard when Isaac spoke to Esau his son. And Esau went to the field to hunt for venison, and to bring it. 27:6 And Rebekah spoke to Jacob her son, saying, Behold, I heard your father speak to Esau your brother, saying, 27:7 Bring me venison, and make me savory food, that I may eat, and bless you before Yahweh before my death. 27:8 Now therefore, my son, obey my voice according to that which I command you. 27:9 Go now to the flock, and fetch me from the 2 good kids of the goats. And I will make them savory food for your father, such as he loves. 27:10 And you shall bring it to your father, that he may eat, so that he may bless you before his death. 27:11 And Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, Behold, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. 27:12 My father perhaps will feel me, and I shall seem to him as a deceiver. And I shall bring a curse upon myself, and not a blessing. 27:13 And his mother said to him, Upon me be your curse, my son. Only obey my voice, and go fetch them for me. 27:14 And he went, and fetched, and brought them to his mother. And his mother made savory food, such as his father loved. 27:15 And Rebekah took the finest garments of Esau her elder son, which were with her in the house, and put them upon Jacob her younger son. 27:16 And she put the skins of the kids of the goats upon his hands, and upon the smooth of his neck. 27:17 And she gave the savory food and the bread, which she had prepared, into the hand of her son Jacob. 27:18 And he came to his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here am I. Who are you, my son? 27:19 And Jacob said to his father, I am Esau your firstborn. I have done according as you bid me. Arise, I pray you, sit and eat of my venison, that your soul may bless me. 27:20 And Isaac said to his son, How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son? And he said, Because Yahweh your God sent me good speed. 27:21 And Isaac said to Jacob, Come near, I pray you, that I may feel you, my son, whether you really are my son Esau or not. 27:22 And Jacob went near to Isaac his father. And he felt him, and said, The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. 27:23 And he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy, as his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him. 27:24 And he said, Are you really my son Esau? And he said, I am. 27:25 And he said, Bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's venison, that my soul may bless you. And he brought it near to him, and he ate. And he brought him wine, and he drank. 27:26 And his father Isaac said to him, Come near now, and kiss me, my son. 27:27 And he came near, and kissed him. And he smelled the smell of his clothing, and blessed him, and said, See, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field which Yahweh has blessed. 27:28 And God gave you of the dew of heaven, and of the fatness of the earth, and plenty of grain and new wine. 27:29 Let peoples serve you, and nations bow down to you. Be lord over your brothers, and let your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be every one that curses you, and blessed be every one that blesses you. 27:30 And it came to pass, as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. 27:31 And he also made savory food, and brought it to his father. And he said to his father, Let my father arise, and eat of his son's venison, that your soul may bless me. 27:32 And Isaac his father said to him, Who are you? And he said, I am your son, your firstborn, Esau. 27:33 And Isaac trembled very exceedingly, and said, Who then is he that has taken venison, and brought it me, and I have eaten of all before you came, and have blessed him, and he certainly shall be blessed. 27:34 When Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with an exceedingly great and bitter cry, and said to his father, Bless me, even me also, O my father. 27:35 And he said, Your brother came with guile, and has taken away your blessing. 27:36 And he said, Is he not rightly named Jacob? For he has supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and, behold, now he has taken away my blessing. And he said, Have you not reserved a blessing for me? 27:37 And Isaac answered and said to Esau, Behold, I have made him your lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants. And with grain and new wine have I sustained him. And what then shall I do for you, my son? 27:38 And Esau said to his father, Have you but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice, and wept. 27:39 And Isaac his father answered and said to him, Behold, of the fatness of the earth shall be your dwelling, and of the dew of heaven from above. 27:40 And by your sword shall you live, and you shall serve your brother. And it shall come to pass, when you shall break loose, that you shall shake his yoke from off your neck. 27:41 And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, The days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. 27:42 And the words of Esau her elder son were told to Rebekah. And she sent and called Jacob her younger son, and said to him, Behold, your brother Esau, as touching you, is comforting himself, purposing to kill you. 27:43 Now therefore, my son, obey my voice, and arise, flee to Laban my brother to Haran. 27:44 And tarry with him a few days, until your brother's fury turns away. 27:45 Until your brother's anger turns away from you, and he forgets that which you have done to him. Then I will send, and fetch you from there. Why should I be bereaved of you both in one day? 27:46 And Rebekah said to Isaac, I am weary of my life because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob takes a wife of the daughters of Heth, such as these, of the daughters of the land, what good shall my life do me? Chapter 28:28 And Isaac called Jacob, and blessed him, and charged him, and said to him, You shall not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. 28:2 Arise, go to Padanaram, to the house of Bethuel your mother's father, and take yourself a wife from there of the daughters of Laban your mother's brother. 28:3 And God Almighty bless you, and make you fruitful, and multiply you, that you may be a company of peoples. 28:4 And give you the blessing of Abraham, to you, and to your seed with you, that you may inherit the land of your sojournings, which God gave to Abraham. 28:5 And Isaac sent away Jacob, and he went to Padanaram to Laban, son of Bethuel the Syrian, the brother of Rebekah, Jacob's and Esau's mother. 28:6 Now Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him away to Padanaram, to take himself a wife from there, and that as he blessed him he gave him a charge, saying, You shall not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. 28:7 And that Jacob obeyed his father and his mother, and was gone to Padanaram. 28:8 And Esau saw that the daughters of Canaan pleased not Isaac his father. 28:9 And Esau went to Ishmael, and took, besides the wives that he had, Mahalath the daughter of Ishmael Abraham's son, the sister of Nebaioth, to be his wife. 28:10 And Jacob went out from Beersheba, and went toward Haran. 28:11 And he came upon a certain place, and tarried there all night, because the sun was set. And he took one of the stones of the place, and put it under his head, and lay down in that place to sleep. 28:12 And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of God ascending and descending on it. 28:13 And, behold, Yahweh stood above it, and said, I am Yahweh, the God of Abraham your father, and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie, to you will I give it, and to your seed. 28:14 And your seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in you and in your seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. 28:15 And, behold, I am with you, and will keep you, wherever you go, and will bring you again into this land. For I will not leave you, until I have done that which I have spoken to you of. 28:16 And Jacob awoke out of his sleep, and he said, Surely Yahweh's in this place, and I knew it not. 28:17 And he was afraid, and said, How dreadful is this place! This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. 28:18 And Jacob rose up early in the morning, and took the stone that he had put under his head, and set it up for a pillar, and poured oil upon the top of it. 28:19 And he called the name of that place Bethel. But the name of the city was Luz at the first. 28:20 And Jacob vowed a vow, saying, If God will be with me, and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat, and clothing to put on. 28:21 So that I come again to my father's house in peace, and Yahweh will be my God. 28:22 Then this stone, which I have set up for a pillar, shall be God's house. And of all that you shall give me I will surely give the tenth to you. Chapter 29:29 1 Then Jacob went on his journey, and came to the land of the children of the east. 29:2 And he looked, and behold, a well in the field, and, lo, 3 flocks of sheep lying by it. for out of that well they watered the flocks. And the stone upon the well's mouth was great. 29:3 And there all the flocks were gathered. And they rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the sheep, and put the stone back upon the well's mouth in its place. 29:4 And Jacob said to them, My brothers, where are you from? And they said, Of Haran are we. 29:5 And he said to them, Know ye Laban the son of Nahor? And they said, We know him. 29:6 And he said to them, Is it well with him? And they said, It is well. And, behold, Rachel his daughter comes with the sheep. 29:7 And he said, Lo, it is yet high day, neither is it time that the cattle should be gathered together. Water ye the sheep, and go and feed them. 29:8 And they said, We cannot, until all the flocks be gathered together, and they roll the stone from the well's mouth. Then we water the sheep. 29:9 While he was yet speaking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she kept them. 29:10 And it came to pass, when Jacob saw Rachel the daughter of Laban his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban his mother's brother, that Jacob went near, and rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the flock of Laban his mother's brother. 29:11 And Jacob kissed Rachel, and lifted up his voice, and wept. 29:12 And Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's kinsman, and Rebekah's son. And she ran and told her father. 29:13 And it came to pass, when Laban heard the tidings of Jacob his sister's son, that he ran to meet him, and embraced him, and kissed him, and brought him to his house. And he told Laban all these things. 29:14 And Laban said to him, Surely you are my bone and my flesh. And he abode with him the space of a month. 29:15 And Laban said to Jacob, Because you are my kinsman, should you therefore serve me for nothing? Tell me, what shall your wages be? 29:16 And Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. 29:17 And Leah's eyes were tender, but Rachel was beautiful and well favored. 29:18 And Jacob loved Rachel. And he said, I will serve you 7 years for Rachel your younger daughter. 29:19 And Laban said, It is better that I give her to you, than give her to another man. Abide with me. 29:20 And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel. And they seemed to him but a few days, for the love that he had toward her. 29:21 And Jacob said to Laban, Give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, so that I may go into her. 29:22 And Laban gathered together all the men of the place, and made a feast. 29:23 And it came to pass in the evening, that he took Leah his daughter, and brought her to him. And he went into her. 29:24 And Laban gave Zilpah his handmaid to his daughter Leah for a handmaid. 29:25 And it came to pass in the morning that, behold, it was Leah. And he said to Laban, What is this you have done to me? Did not I serve with you for Rachel? Why then have you deceived me? 29:26 And Laban said, It is not so done in our place, to give the younger before the firstborn. 29:27 Fulfill the week of this one, and we will give you the other also for the service which you shall serve with me yet 7 other years. 29:28 And Jacob did so, and fulfilled her week. And he gave him Rachel his daughter to wife. 29:29 And Laban gave to Rachel his daughter Bilhah his handmaid to be her handmaid. 29:30 And he went in also to Rachel, and he loved also Rachel more than Leah, and served with him yet 7 other years. 29:31 And Yahweh saw that Leah was hated, and he opened her womb. But Rachel was barren. 29:32 And Leah conceived, and bore a son, and she called his name Reuben, for she said, Because Yahweh has looked upon my affliction, for now my husband will love me. 29:33 And she conceived again, and bore a son and said, Because Yahweh has heard that I am hated, he has therefore given me this son also. And she called his name Simeon. 29:34 And she conceived again, and bore a son, and said, Now this time will my husband be joined to me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore was his name called Levi. 29:35 And she conceived again, and bore a son. And she said, This time will I praise Yahweh. Therefore she called his name Judah. And she left off bearing.